c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX.
In the Big Bend area. Now, if Helene comes ashore as a Category 3 or 4 as forecast, it would be the strongest hurricane to make landfall in that part of the Florida coast in more than 150 years. And so we do continue to track this breaking news. For more on this, I do want to bring in Evan Peterson, who is the national spokesperson for the American Red Cross, coming to us live from Atlanta, Georgia. Evan, thank you for taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox. We appreciate it.
Of course, this is a very important topic, and we appreciate you wanting to spread the word about it.
So 5 states now under state of emergencies, including the state that you're in, which is Georgia. And incredibly, Atlanta, Georgia, anticipating possibly receiving its own hurricane as it continues to track northward. What is the very latest when it comes to emergency preparations that the American Red Cross has right now?
The American Red Cross has seen this coming on the radar from watching your forecasts and others and working with the federal government to keep an eye on these storms as they roll in. So first, this is not a surprise to us. We are in these communities where this storm is going to be moving overhead. We have hundreds of disaster trained volunteers in these communities, hunkering down, opening up shelters. In fact, as of last night, when some of these areas, especially in Florida, have already had their evacuation orders in place, we had about 2,500 people staying with us in that partner shelters, listening to their local emergency officials, which what we ask people to do right now. If you still have the opportunity to leave and that order's been given, please do so. If you're being told to shelter in place, please do so. And if the storm's not quite yet on your doorstep, now is the time to prepare.
Absolutely. And I wanted to bring in once again this live look at our XRAD system. This is an enormous storm, specifically in the Tallahassee area. They haven't seen something like this in 150 years. Can you talk about the unique nature, perhaps, of what this storm entails when it comes to making sure that everyone's safe?
That's a really great question, because not only is this a major storm, and we know that it still has the potential to increase in strength and size as it does get closer to making landfall. One of the things we're dealing with isn't just the strong hurricane force winds, the sustaining and gusts, but also the flood that's going to come with it, the storm surge that's going to happen right along those coastlines. But also we're hearing reports now of tornado warnings and watches in many of these impacted areas. So now we're having to add tornadoes to the mix. The thing we really ask people to do now is please prepare. If all this sounds overwhelming, take a deep breath. We have some information over on our website or on our emergency app. If you go to the Apple Android devices, just type in American Red Cross. We have many helpful steps to walk you through what you need to do in order to stay safe.
Now, Evan, a lot of people likely have already evacuated some of those more susceptible areas. But for folks who thought they could ride it out, now learning that this could be a Category 4 hurricane, changing their minds, but may not have the resources or perhaps the ability to evacuate, what does the American Red Cross provide to folks who may not have those resources?
Sure. So when an evacuation order has been given, we ask everybody, please listen to your emergency management officials. They will tell you what's best for you and your neighbors in that area. They are the ultimate authority, if you will. But if you do not have the means to leave, we have information on sheltering in place. It's really just getting back to basics, making sure that you're minimizing your risk and knowing what's going to be around you. If there is an issue of you needing to evacuate and you have your car nearby, keeping a constant flow of information coming in, making sure your radios are working, making sure you have your cell phones charged, things like that in case you lose power. Really just keeping as many lines out there of information as possible so you know what's coming your way and best way to stay safe.
And Evan, you were talking about power. We were hearing that at least in the Tallahassee area, folks could be without power for up to 2 weeks. So this is not just a days-long event. This could be a weeks-long recovery. When it comes to that time frame, what are the resources that the American Red Cross provides folks who may be without power for weeks?
So obviously, when the storm all clear is given and people are coming out of their homes, coming out of their shelters, it's entirely possible that their home, their neighborhood may look completely different. And we understand that can be a very alarming feeling. We are fortunate that we have so many people in our organization who are trained in helping people bounce back from something like this. Obviously, as I've said, our immediate attention right now is getting people to safety, providing them with care, food, water, shelter, a place to charge their devices. But once that all clear is given, we're really going to work with our community partners, work with those emergency management officials and those residents to assess what's going on. And when we start hearing the needs from them, we will adjust resources accordingly, because our goal is to get everybody back on their feet in a better position than how they came to us, and we're going to stick with them through this.
Already in Florida, we're feeling the effects of the storm. Where you are in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm curious for your personal perspective on this, not just with the American Red Cross. What is the sense there? Because it is unusual for a hurricane to hit that area.
So as I mentioned, I do live in Atlanta, and it's unusual because I've already been kind of talking with some of my neighbors, talking with them about what they're doing to prepare, things like that. Most people are surprised that I didn't think I'd have to worry about a hurricane this far up. But that's something we're seeing with this extreme weather that's happening, is that storms are coming more frequently. Those that are coming are a little bit stronger in intensity. So it's not off the table. And that's why we ask everybody, if you are seeing this report, if you have a friend or a family member that's in one of these affected areas, keep the conversation around preparedness going, because again, a storm like this and with its forecast model, it's got legs. We know it's going to move. So we need everybody in its path to be prepared, and that really cannot be said enough. So we appreciate you helping get that word out there.
Absolutely, Evan. Before we let you go, anything else that you want our Live Now from Fox viewers to know about?
We often get this question about people who aren't in the way of the hurricane or in the way of these storms. How can I help? What do I want to do? The best thing I would ask people to do is that ahead of the storm, we mobilized a lot of people, 90% of which are comprised of volunteers. A lot of people don't know that 90% of our organization is made of volunteers. So if you feel inspired to join our cause and help your neighbors in need, just go to redcross.org. You can learn how to become a volunteer. Also, making a blood appointment. We've already seen this storm cancel some of their blood drives. People are not wanting to risk it. We totally understand that. If you aren't in an impacted area, please consider making a blood donation appointment, because that really goes a long way. And ahead of the storm, we moved hundreds of blood products down to the Georgia and Florida areas so that hospitals, when that emergency strikes and they need to reach for blood, their coffers are full.
So important. Evan, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you.
And once again, I did want to share this live look at our XRAD radar as we continue to track the very latest on Hurricane Helene, as it is expected to make landfall as a Category 3, possibly a Category 4 hurricane between 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So we did want to share that with you. I also wanted to share this with you as we are getting videos from around the impacted areas. Take a look at this. This is from Treasure Island, Florida, and this was from this morning. So already at this hour, just an incredible amount of rain and flooding right there as millions are bracing for Helene to make impact. So this is a look at some video from the city of Treasure Island in Florida. Coming up in just about 20 minutes at around 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, we're actually going to be joined by the chief of police there as they continue all of the emergency responses in that area. Millions in Florida are going to be impacted. We are going to step away for a 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. After that, we continue our live coverage as the city of Tampa is holding another briefing on Hurricane Helene. The very latest from Tampa, Florida, coming up in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo.
Go in, risk their lives to rescue someone who should have evacuated some time back. Our call center is open today. It's been open since 10 o'clock. It will be open until 7 o'clock tonight to answer any questions that you may have about the storm. And I know that that number is not on my notes here, so it will be shared with you during this presentation. I went out and visited our push crews, and those are the groups of city team members that will be out there if it's necessary. Once the winds have subsided, they'll be out there clearing off the roadways so that we can get our first responders in there to address any issues that need to be addressed. And we can also get TECO in there, and they can repair any electrical outages. I know you will get information about generators from our fire chief, but it really can't be underscored enough. If your electricity goes out and you have a generator, that generator has to be operated outside in a very well ventilated location, and that is critically important. We have canceled our solid waste for tomorrow, pickup for tomorrow, so don't put your bins out there. And we are making the decision on if we're going to close down the city. I know that the county has been closed down, school systems will be closed, so we will let you know in plenty of time if our office buildings are going to be closed. So at this time, I would like to bring up County Commissioner Harry Cohen that will share some of the information with you about the county issues. Harry?
Thank you very much, Mayor. I have just come from the County Emergency Operations Center. The county remains under a state of local emergency with a mandatory evacuation for Zone A, which also includes mobile homes and manufactured homes across Hillsborough County. And I really would like to address specifically people that live in South Tampa, Town and Country, and around the Alafai and Little Manatee rivers. These are areas that are going to experience storm surge in the next 24 hours. And it's very, very important that you heed our warnings and that you carefully assess where you are and what your plan is. Time is running very, very short to escape from water, and that is what we must do when there is a flood event. Right now, the predictions are a storm surge of 5 to 8 feet. That is a significant flooding event that is different from anything that we have experienced in this region before. So please take precautions and take it seriously. Storm surge will continue to impact us after the worst of the storm has passed. So don't go out into standing water. Take your time assessing your situation before you venture out, and look for word from local authorities that it is safe to go about and move about again. In addition, please be alert for tornadoes. They frequently occur in the outer bands of hurricanes, and there is a risk of them today. If you receive a tornado warning, get into a sturdy building immediately. We are going to be continuing to keep people updated as things develop, but I just want to particularly urge people to stay safe, take precautions, take this seriously, and let's get through the next day whole as a community.
Buenas tardes, Maribel Garrett, Enlace Hispano para la ciudad de Tampa. Queremos agradecerle a todos nuestros residentes su cooperación en mantenernos seguros y siguiendo las instrucciones que los oficiales del gobierno nos han estado dando.
All right, so right now we are listening in live to an update given by Tampa officials as they continue to prepare for Hurricane Helene. Right now, they are translating all of their recommendations in Spanish right there, but they are urging everyone to pay heed to the warnings, especially in those lower lying areas where flooding is a major issue. They are asking everyone to be prepared. Earlier, I did have a chance to speak with Tampa Mayor Jane Castor about all of the preparations. They do have major machinery strategically set up in the Tampa area to address all of the concerns. But if you do live in one of those low-lying areas that have evacuations, whether that's voluntary or mandatory, she is urging everyone to be very careful. Storm surge is a major concern as we're talking about Hurricane Helene. And in fact, Tampa not even feeling the brunt of this storm. However, they could see a storm surge of up to 8 feet. And so that could be catastrophic to some of those areas right here. We're continuing to listen in to this live update from Tampa officials as right now they are translating into Spanish for all of the individuals who are tuning in right there. Just to give you the very latest as we continue to monitor this, and as soon as they pivot back to English, we will raise that audio again. 5 states are currently under a state of emergency, Florida being one of them, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. So 5 states right now. The National Weather Service says a catastrophic storm surge of up to 20 feet is possible in the Big Bend region. So Hurricane Helene anticipated to make landfall near Tallahassee between 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. If Helene does come ashore as a Category 3 or 4, as it is forecasted, it will be the strongest hurricane to make landfall on that port of the Florida coast in more than 150 years. If you're just joining us right now at 12:14 Eastern, 9:14 Pacific, we're carrying this live update from Tampa officials as right now the current speaker is translating all of these recommendations into Spanish, as there is a large Spanish-speaking population in the Tampa area as well as across Florida. So we do see a number of speakers. We were hearing from the mayor a short time ago. It does look like there are going to be other speakers right here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to step away for a 2-minute break, and it does look as though she has wrapped up. We're going to raise the audio once again and listen in.
Speaking with everyone about the weather of Hurricane Helene, we just want you all to make sure you pay attention to the weather warnings. If the weather is dangerous for you, just know that it's dangerous for first responders. Even though the storm is bypassing us, we're going to be dealing with the wind as well as the storm surge. With that, it's going to come with flooding. If you have not evacuated, now is the time to evacuate. Once again, first responders will not be able to go into dangerous situations to rescue you. So hopefully everyone has took heed to that and evacuated appropriately. Once again, we're going to experience some wind that's going to come throughout the day and even to the night. And of course, as the mayor stated about generators, some of you all may lose power within the next 24, 48 hours. If that is the case, and if you have a generator, you must operate that generator in a well-ventilated area, meaning outside, not inside your garage, not inside your home. Make sure you only plug in necessary items to that generator. Once again, make sure you follow manufacturer's instructions when it comes to that. Some of your homes may see some flooding. You may have stuff stored in your garage, like scooters, anything with lithium batteries. Please elevate those items. Do not let it submerge in water. Electric vehicles, do not drive through the water. Make sure you do not put your vehicles in water and begin to try to operate after the storm is over. As the mayor stated, it may seem like it's sunny outside. We know the kids are out of school, but we should not have them out and exposed to this kind of weather. Wait until authorities tell you to return to your home if you've been evacuated, as well as make sure you wait until authority tells you it's clear to move on your day-to-day activities. Remember to receive emergency alerts as well as flooding information. Text Tampa Ready to 888-777. Tampa Ready to 888-777. And for Spanish alerts, Tampa Lista to 888-777. Now I turn it over to Chief Burkall.
Thank you, Chief Tripp. We're already starting to feel the impacts of this storm. Bayshore is already flooded between Bay to Bay and Swan. We have our officers out there blocking the roads. And believe it or not, a car actually tried to drive through. We can't get that message out more clearly. It is very dangerous, not only for your car, but also for your person. We need to do a special shout out for all of our first responders and our city and county employees. They are out there doing everything they can to keep our community safe, but we need everybody to do their part. Avoid driving in flooded waters. Turn around, don't drown. Find an alternate route. On top of that, one of our biggest concerns is the storm surge. What we're seeing today will be significantly higher this evening. So please ensure that you're preparing. We have all of our hands on decks. We have our high water vehicles. We have our officers out there. So please do your part. And then most importantly, if you see something, say something so we can do something. Thank you. And I will have Sherry Jacobs from TECO come up.
Sherry Jacobs, Tampa Electric. Safety is Tampa Electric's #1 priority, and we are doing everything we can to ensure a safe and speedy restoration. As the storm impacts this area today, our crews are in the field restoring power as long as it's safe to do so. And we have all hands on deck. We're working around the clock with 16-hour shifts. We have 3,500 people standing at the ready once the storm passes to help us restore power. Those folks are coming from more than 20 states, from as far away as Colorado and Connecticut. 2 safety tips during this weather today: stay out of floodwaters and be aware of any downed lines. If you see a line that is down, assume it's a power line and assume that it's live, and please report it to Tampa Electric as soon as possible, keeping people and pets away from it. If your power goes out, please report it to us. The easiest way to do that is on our website, tampaelectric.com. We can text you when your power is restored if you have chosen to evacuate. If you do lose power and you have a generator, a number of folks have mentioned make sure it's properly ventilated, but also do not operate your generator when it's raining. You don't want it to get wet while it's operating. And only plug individual appliances into that generator. Don't attach it to your home's main wiring. That can create dangerous backfeed for the crews who are working in your neighborhood. In fact, if you see crews working in your neighborhood, please shut your generator off. One last thing, you might notice in your neighborhood that the streetlights are on. This is intentional. It helps crews pinpoint where the power outages are. So please don't report your streetlights being on to TECO, but please do report your power outage. Thank you.
All
All right, we'll open it up to questions. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
With these early rain bands that started this morning, we have seen some scattered outages. Many of them have already been restored, but we will continue to see outages through.
You say South Shore was already showing some flooding. Is there any other part of the city that is showing flooding?
We have a number of streets that have been flooded, and all of those streets are listed on our website, tampa.gov, but we're also putting them out on our social media feeds, and if individuals are listed for Tampa Ready at 888-777, Tampa Lista 888-777, we'll put those out there as well. And then the call center, the number that was given for the call center earlier, that information they can receive as well. So here's really what we want everyone to understand, that we, the city, the county, we are doing everything that we can to keep our community safe. But we need each and every one of you to understand your level of responsibility as well. The flooding has already begun, but the tide is going out. And so some of these floodwaters are going to recede. That does not mean that it's safe, because as the tide goes up and those bands come around at the outside of the hurricane, it's going to pull all of that water into Tampa Bay. And we are going to see significant flooding, 5 to 8 feet. As we said before, you can't wait to see what happens, because tidal surge is going to come very, very quickly. And we don't want anyone in our community to be injured by making a wrong decision. So take it seriously. This will be over in 20 hours, 2024. But just go to higher ground right now if you're in those evacuation zones, and stay out of the water. Don't go anywhere if you don't need to, and let's get through this safely. Thank you.
And that was the very latest from Tampa officials as they are continuing to urge residents to pay attention to the warnings, saying this is going to be a situation they'll be in for about 20 hours. Flooding, though, already an issue in parts of Tampa and those lower lying areas. We're going to step away for a 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. After that, we're going to be joined by the Chief of Police, John Barkley of Treasure Island, Florida. And we've been seeing some just incredible video from that area of Florida as they also are already dealing with some pretty impressive flooding. We're going to talk to the chief in just 2 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Stephanie Quinu. Time right now is 12:25 Eastern, 9:25 Pacific. All morning long, all day long, we have been bringing you the very latest updates as Hurricane Helene is now just hours away from making landfall as either a Category 3 or Category 4 hurricane in the Big Bend region of Florida. But already parts of Florida are feeling the impacts, and we've been hearing from officials urging people about the concern of flooding. I want to share this look with you. This is some video that was taken earlier today from Treasure Island, Florida. And already at this hour, look at this road. It looks like a river as they've just been inundated already with rainfall. So that is a major concern. To talk more about this, I do want to bring in the Chief of Police of Treasure Island, Chief John Barkley. And Chief Barkley, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So just incredible video that we've been seeing from the city of Treasure Island. What are conditions like right now?
Well, the problem is what you saw in the video this morning, that was our first high tide of the day. And what really concerns us and why we're trying to get the message out, we need people to leave immediately, is because we're expecting 2 to almost 3 times that amount of water to come in later on this evening when it's going to be dark. So we're really encouraging people to rapidly leave the island, rapidly leave all the barrier islands here in Pinellas County to make sure they're safe.
Which is incredible. We saw that video already. It looked like the street was a river, and you're expecting 2 to 3 times more water in the island. For folks who are still there, what are you seeing? Are you seeing most people have, heeded the warnings and already left the island, or are a lot of people trying to ride it out?
Unfortunately, a lot of people are trying to ride it out, and the point we're trying to get across is this is record-breaking storm surge they're predicting, which is that they've never seen this on the island, at least in anybody's lifetime that they've been around. And a lot of, we have a lot of longtime residents that are hesitant to leave, saying, oh, we've been through this before. But we're really trying to urge them that this is something that is new, and there's a really good chance some homes could have 1 to 2 feet of water in them.
Wow, 1 to 2 feet of water inside those homes. You're saying a lot of these are lifelong residents, and of course, Florida no stranger to these types of storms. When it comes to this particular hurricane, though, Hurricane Helene, and already what you're seeing, is this unprecedented? How would you compare it to previous storms?
It's, each storm is different, and that's the problem, that they're all different in size. Like we had Hurricane Debbie skirt our coast in the beginning of August, and it wasn't that big of a deal here. And unfortunately, a lot of people will compare one storm to the other when just the immense size of this storm is over 100 miles off of our coastline, but it's having devastating effects all up the west coast of Florida and into the Panhandle, where it's going to make final landfall. But, people look at hurricanes as a pinpoint on a map where they end. But if you look at the wind field and the amount of rain and the actions that's happening all over the place, it's quite devastating for a very large section of the country.
And let's talk about the fact that Treasure Island is an island. What are the particular challenges when it comes to storm preparation and emergency response?
The problem with that is, Treasure Island, we have the Gulf of Mexico on one side, and we have Boca Ciega Bay on the other. And during the storm surge, the bay and the Gulf will actually meet one another in certain areas, and that completely floods the island over. So one of the reasons we want people to evacuate is something bad happens, they need to leave now, because we are just unable. We don't have vehicles that can travel in 4 and 5 feet of water depth. And if they need some type of emergency service, or if they decide, at the last moment, I don't want to be here, it's too late for that.
So I want to, just for clarification, you were talking about the island getting just flooded all the way over. Is that what happens, that the island just is completely covered with water?
Yes, there are certain points of the island that are low enough that if this storm surge reaches the predicted levels, the bay will meet the Gulf in certain areas. That's correct.
So I want to ask you this. Obviously, you're urging residents to be incredibly cautious and evacuate the island. But of course, you and other emergency responders may not have that ability. How do you make sure that you stay safe and other emergency responders stay safe?
That's all part of the plan is, we have to take care of our families and stuff because we're here during the storms. We have to do our preparations early, and we just have to make sure, we are out there to the absolute last minute we can possibly be there, and we'll be the first ones back on the island to make sure everything is safe for people to get back out there.
And we appreciate you and all other emergency responders really risking your own safety to make sure that everyone else stays safe. Before we let you go, Chief, is there anything else that you would want to share with us? And to that end, can you walk us through the timeline that Treasure Island is really anticipating to see the worst?
Yeah, we're seeing conditions start to deteriorate right now. We're starting to get stronger wind bands, stronger rain. But in all honesty, this isn't a wind and rain event we're concerned about. For us, it's all about storm surge. And that's been our biggest concern. And the only thing we try to tell people is, you still have time to get off the island. And if you're hesitant or you're not sure about that, and this goes for all the barrier islands. There's multiple barrier islands here in Pinellas County. Treasure Island is just one of them. And if you want to make that decision, get off, it's time to do that right now.
And when it comes to storm surge, how many feet are you anticipating?
It's anywhere between 5 to 8 feet. But unfortunately, as they're remodeling this, as the storm is approaching, as the winds are doing what they're doing, they think it's going to be towards the higher end of that. So it could be over 7 feet.
Unbelievable. Well, Chief, we know that you're busy. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. We see that the bandwidth is low, so we appreciate just the ability for you to join us here, as no doubt power outages, cell phone service will also likely be interrupted. Chief, any final thoughts
correct.
that you would like our viewers to know?
No, just we want everybody to be safe and heed the warnings of local officials. And anybody who has evacuated the islands, please don't come back until we tell you it's safe to do so, because we're just going to stop you before you get over there. And
so important to listen to those warnings. Chief Barkley, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And as you heard the chief right there, please pay attention to the warnings that your county and your local city and community are sharing with you. They say these to save lives. I also wanted to share this live look with you. This is a live look from Anna Maria. And just to give you a little bit of context, Anna Maria is just about 1 mile south of Treasure City. That is where we were just speaking with the chief, who says that already they're seeing just inches and inches of rain, expecting maybe 1 to 2 feet of flooding in that island. But take a look at the conditions here, continuing to deteriorate. You can see that camera shaking and the waves really picking up as we are still hours away from Hurricane Helene making landfall around the Tallahassee region between 6 and 9 p.m. tonight. So we have a ways to go, folks. We have 6 to 9 hours before Helene makes landfall, give or take, depending on whether the storm slows down or speeds up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 2-minute break right here on Live Now from Fox. Also, taking a look at this, as you know, the hurricane is tracking northwards. We're going to be speaking with a storm tracker Mike Boylan, to talk about what his experience is like as he tracks Hurricane Helene. We're going to be speaking with him in just about 15 minutes or so, so you'll definitely want to stick around for that conversation. Stay with us.
s'éclaire. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX s'éclaire. C'est la 5 en stéréo. c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. TELEMAX, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en